Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining me for this Explore Learning Grids webinar. My name is Gemma. I'm the Senior Customer Experience Consultant at Crick Software. So I support our existing customers in using DocsPlus effectively, and I also create and manage the training resources that are available on our website. So in today's webinar, we've got about 30 minutes. And during that time, we're going to be looking at LearningGrids, which is our bank of pre-made, ready-to-use DocsPlus resources. So we're going to look at how you can navigate LearningGrids to more easily find the resources that are going to be most useful for your learners. We'll have a look at some examples of resources for different subject and topic areas. And we'll talk a bit about the different ways you might want to use these resources in your classroom. So to start off with, just a little bit of background information to Crick Software, the company. We've been around since 1993, and the company was originally created by John and Anne Crick, who were both working as teachers. And John was working in a special school with children with physical disabilities. So that's where the initial idea for our software came from. And over the years, we've improved our software, we've added more features, and it's now widely used to support both learners with special needs, but also to support literacy in general in the classroom. So I've just got our contact information on the screen now quickly. So if you do want to make a note of it in case you need to ask any questions in the future, you can do so. So if you have any questions during this webinar, please do let me know. You can ask questions through Zoom using the Q&A function, which is the button with the two speech bubbles. Or if you're attending through Facebook and you have a question, you can leave your question as a comment beneath the video. After the webinar, if you're trying something out and you have a question, it's not working how you expect it to, or perhaps you couldn't attend live today, so you're just watching the recording for the first time and you have a question, please do get in touch. You can give us a call on one of the office numbers just here. You can email me directly, and there's also lots of help and advice available on our website. Thank you to everybody who has completed the poll so far. I think there's only a couple of people still to complete that. If you could just have a quick look at that, let us know who you are. It helps me to better tailor this session more closely to your interests. Okay, so we're going to dive straight into DocsPlus in just a moment. But before we do, what is DocsPlus? So if you're really new to DocsPlus, it's literacy support software, and it's designed around making curriculum content more accessible for learners and helping them and supporting them to be able to express themselves and their ideas. So to do that, there are a range of tools and resources that can be used in DocsPlus. So when you're writing in the document, you have access to support tools. We also have a doc reader for making text accessible through speech support. There are workspaces, which are a really nice, simple to use mind mapping tool, great for encouraging learners to plan out and develop their ideas before starting writing. And then there are word bars, and these sit beneath the document when the student is writing into it, offering subject-specific vocabulary and offering speech support there as well. Okay, so DocsPlus can be accessed on a PC, Windows or Mac, laptop or desktop, and it can also be accessed through the DocsPlus app on iPads and Chromebooks. So everything is available through the DocsPlus app that we've already mentioned, but workspaces aren't currently available on iPads and Chromebooks. Okay, so I'm going to start off on PC. So when you first open up DocsPlus on your computer, you'll see this quick start menu here. So from here, we can go straight into writing, we can create new resources and access recent DocsPlus files, but we need to get to LearningGrids. And what we're going to do today is start off by looking at workspaces. So workspace is where we're going to plan out our ideas, generate vocabulary. It's where we're going to start our writing process. So to give me an idea for how you might be looking at using workspaces in your classroom, I'm just going to launch a second poll. Now, if you're not too sure, just pick anything that you think sounds interesting and useful to you. You can pick more than one of the options in that poll. And if you do choose other, it'd be really helpful if you put whatever other way you'd like to use workspaces into the Q&A. It's not technically a question, but I'll still be able to see it. So I'm just going to give you 30 seconds or so to fill in that poll and read through the options. Okay, excellent. Thank you, everybody, for completing that poll. If you're still answering, do carry on. I'm not going to close it just yet, but from the looks of it, the most popular option is planning for extended writing tasks. But we do have votes in all of those options, so we'll be touching on a little bit of everything today anyway. Okay, so we now need to get into Learning Grids, and some of you may have already noticed that we've got a Learning Grids tab just here towards the top of the window. And when we choose that, it takes us to our bank of resources. So there are currently just over 1,000 resources ready for you to use in DocsPlus. And that's not a static list. We've got our curriculum team constantly making new resources, and those are added to Learning Grids twice a month. So really regularly, it's always worth checking back to see what's new. Okay. Now, 1,000 is a lot to be looking through, so there are a few ways that you can narrow that down. So first of all, we've got our search bar. We can look for key topic terminology to find relevant resources. We can also choose between word bars and workspaces with the checkboxes here. So if we know we only want to look at workspaces, we are looking at workspaces now, we can tick that box, and you can see the images have all changed to more charts and mind map style activities. If you've got both word bars and workspaces displayed in Learning Grids, you can tell what kind of resource something is by looking just above the open button. So you can see this resource here is a workspace, and this resource are both word bars. Okay. Finally, you can look through the subject areas. So the subject areas are listed just here, and if we click through them, you can see that it is then broken down into different topics and categories, which makes it really easy to see what topic areas we have resources available on. Okay, so lots in here. So the first resource I want to show you, we're going to go to English language, and we're going to go into word work. So we've now narrowed that down to 15 resources, which is much more manageable, but I'm going to narrow it down even further because we know we want a workspace. So I've ticked the workspace box, and I've now just got workspaces displayed. So here we've got some really lovely resources, comparative and superlative adjectives, words with Greek roots and Latin roots, some powerful words resources. But I'm going to open up this suffix meanings resource. So we'll open this one up. And we've got some cells that we need to complete with information. So here we can list some examples of different suffixes, what they mean, what their meaning is, and some examples of that suffix used in words. Now, we could also adjust this resource to add different levels of challenge. So perhaps we pre-populate the suffix boxes, so learners then only have to fill in the meaning and some examples. Perhaps we want to make it a little bit more challenging, and so we fill in the meanings, and learners have to identify what suffix the meaning is attributed to and give us some examples. So a really nice resource to kind of start us off, not laid out like a typical mind map, but a really great visual way of displaying this information. Let's have a look at an example now for English literature. So I'm just going back to LearningGrids by going to the folder icon up in the top left of the screen. So that takes me to my file explorer. If I save a DocsPlus file, I can open it again from here, but we're going to choose the LearningGrids tab again. So we'll go into the English literature subject area, and you can see we've got resources on lots of different texts, but we're going to go into the response to literature category and writing about texts. Again, I'll narrow that down to workspaces specifically. And you can see our first option here is actually a fairly typical mind map, planning out a book review. But we've also got some book and film comparison resources, planning out a peel paragraph or analysing an extract, perhaps looking at broader themes in a text or the characters. And I'm just going to open up this book and film comparison number 2. Okay, so we'll open this one up, and here we're looking at similarities and differences between a book and its film adaptation. So I'm just going to do a quick example now with The Colour Purple by Alice Walker, something I studied when I was in sixth form. And we'll start with some similarities. So in terms of the setting, they were both set in really similar environments. So they both take place in the 1930s. So we'll just type that in. Okay, so we're just selecting a box and typing using our keyboard to add this information. In terms of the characters, so again, both the film and the book, Celia and Nettie are really close sisters. So Celia and Nettie are close. Okay. In terms of plot events, let's think of a difference now. So in the film, they actually cut out quite a large chunk where Celia and Nettie are exchanging letters. So they take that out of the film. So that would be a difference in terms of plot events. So Celia and Nettie. Okay. So that's just a really quick couple of bullet points on some similarities and differences. We could go into a lot more detail on this, but then we're starting to build up a plan for being able to write really clearly about similarities and differences for this piece of literature. And when we come to the writing stage, we can jump to our document with the little page icon down here in the bottom left. So we can get back to our document, and then we can get back to our chart with this tab here. And if I go to this icon just here, I can get the information from my mind map, my workspace, into my document in a few different ways. So I can send it to the document as a diagram or as text, or we could create a word bar from the workspace. So I'm actually just going to send it in as a diagram. I think that would work best in this particular scenario because it allows me to see my chart really clearly. I've got the same visual layout, and I can refer to it while I'm writing in the document. Okay. So that's another example. Let's look at something for a different subject area now. I'm going to go for science. So back to LearningGrids. Into the science subject area. And we're going to go for a subject in biology, the human body. So again, we'll trim that down to just the 4 workspaces. So we've got one on the brain, and then we've got some to do with communicable diseases, pathogens, and microorganisms. So I'm going to open up the one on the brain. And this is almost a labeling type activity, but we do have that key vocabulary already entered for us. So what we need to add in are the functions of those different parts of the brain. Now we've got some quite complex language displayed here now. So what we can do to make it again more accessible is right click this key vocabulary.
Cerebral cortex, cerebellum, medulla.
To hear those words read out. So we can then listen to the words and make sure that we're happy with the vocabulary that's being offered before filling in that information. And chances are in your classroom, not every learner has access to a laptop. You might have a few students who are using DocsPlus on a PC, but other students who are handwriting their work. And you can make these resources available for them as well. So we can print off our workspaces by going to the Smart tab option up here at the top of the screen, and then choosing Print. So you can see I can then print that off. I might want to uncheck this box for show backgrounds to save my coloured ink, but I can then make that diagram, that mind map, available as a kind of worksheet. We'll look at one more topic-specific workspace now. So something for history. We'll go back to LearningGrids, folder icon, and choosing LearningGrids just here. And into history this time, and I'm going to go for the Norman Conquest, looking at the events surrounding the Battle of 1066. 2 workspaces in this area, and I'm going to open up the Claims to the Throne option. So here we've got the 3 pretenders to the throne: Harold Godwinson, William of Normandy, and Harold Hardrada. And we can fill in some information on what their various claims to the throne were. Now, this is a subject area that's often looked at in Key Stage 3, so perhaps we want to make it a little bit more interactive, a little bit more engaging. So what we can do is go to this icon over here and then drag the microphone icon onto the workspace, and we'll have one for each of these people. And now we could ask volunteers to come up and record what they know of each of these people's claims to the throne. So we can double click to open up the sound recorder and make our recording. We might even want to do a kind of hot seating style activity where they take on the persona of these people and perhaps give a speech explaining why they should be the next king. And we can then summarize those ideas beneath each of the images. So those are all very topic specific examples. But let's have a look now at options that are a bit more cross-curriculum. So I'm going to go back to LearningGrids, and there's a specific area that's really useful to be aware of in LearningGrids. It's in the English language subject area, and it's under writing frames and planners. So there are lots of resources in here, 29 resources, 18 of those are workspaces. And here you can see we've got some really great resources for planning out extended writing tasks. So we've got a generic essay planner, writing for decisions, writing to advise, planning out appeal paragraph. There's a KWL chart here, which you might want to use in more of a whole class sense. Biographies or autobiographical writing. Writing out a piece of writing on a discussion for or against. Recount, persuasion, loads of excellent planners here. I'm just going to open up this recount planner as a quick example. So here we can fill in our title, what's the event that we're writing a recount of. We could record in some basic initial details and then fill in the when, where, who, and what details. And then we can write out the events and summarize them in sequential order. And again, we've got those recording buttons, so we can record in our initial ideas as well. So that's a nice selection of our workspaces. We're going to move on to looking at word bars now, and just like we had the poll for workspaces, I've got a similar one here for word bars. So I'm just going to launch this one as well to get your votes. Okay, so again, it is multiple choice if you want to select more than one of those options. Okay, a few more seconds for some more responses. Okay, fantastic. Thank you, everybody, for completing that. If you are just finalising your vote, do carry on. But it looks like scaffolding writing on different topics has the most votes, followed by helping students to structure their writing, supporting certain students with subject-specific vocabulary and encouraging students to use more challenging vocabulary and kind of bringing up the rear. But we've got a few votes in everything, which is great. Okay, so we'll have a look at a word bar in DocsPlus on PC first, and then we're going to jump across to DocsPlus for iPads and Chromebooks. We've just been looking at these planners, and we'll look at the word bars that are in the same area. So I'm just going to swap this tick box to word bars. So we've got 11 word bars, and you'll notice as we scroll through these that where there's a workspace, there's often a word bar for it as well. So we've got some sentence starters for writing peel paragraphs, vocabulary for writing a personal statement, writing to advise or a book review, writing an explanation. So if we open up this writing an explanation frame, you can see we've got some sentence starters, first of all, to start off writing an explanation. We've got some general words and phrases, some link words and phrases, and then finally we've got some topic words, and this is left intentionally blank so you can then adapt it for whatever topic you're looking at. And to do that, we just pop into Edit View by going to Edit Word Bar down here in the bottom left, and then we can just add in the vocabulary by typing in the words text box. So we could type the words in ourselves, or we can copy and paste a list of vocabulary as well. So if we just pretend that we're going to write about the water cycle, very quick example, we might want words like evaporation, condensation, etc. And you can see as I'm adding those words, they're appearing down here. And we can then use this edited word bar by going to Edit Word Bar again at the bottom of the screen, and we can then use it. And in terms of using this to write, we can click the words or phrases to add them into the document, or we can right-click them.
One explanation is
to hear them read out, just like we did in the workspace. So that's using a word bar on PC. But as I mentioned, we can also use these to support writing in the DocsPlus app on iPad and Chromebook. So I've just opened up the app. So this is what DocsPlus looks like on iPads and Chromebooks. So we've got the same support tools available to help us with our writing in the word processor here. We haven't really touched on those today, but they're all still here. You can see there's a tab here for the doc reader as well. But we're going to go into LearningGrids again. So to get to LearningGrids, we go again to the folder icon up here in the top left. And you can see LearningGrids is the second option on the menu. So here we can access all the same word bars that were available in LearningGrids on PC. We can use the search bar to narrow that down, or we can use the subject area. So if I just go to writing frames and planners where we were just now, you can see those same word bars are listed here. We've got peel sentence starters, personal statements, writing to advise. Let's just look at another example with the book review frame just really quickly. This is a really nice one. So we've got our vocabulary to start off our introduction, words for writing back the plot, the characters, style, what devices they've used, themes, what your personal response is, and useful adjectives. So a really lovely example of another writing frame. This one is less adaptable for different topics because it's designed to work for multiple books. So let's just have a look at other kinds of word bars available in LearningGrids. So we've seen the writing frames, and there are three other types of word bar that you're likely to come across in LearningGrids. So those are A to Z, quick words, and topic-based word bars. So we'll have a look at some examples of those now, and we're going to look at an example on rivers. Okay. So we've got 17 resources on rivers. And we'll start off by having a look at an example of a quick words resource. So you can see in the title, several of these have quick words listed. So I'm going to open up this one on Journey of a River. So we'll open this one up. And we've now got one grid of key vocabulary on the topic. So this is really great for learners who need a bit of support with the vocabulary. They might struggle to look through multiple grids or lots of vocabulary to find the words that they need, and actually less is more in this case. We could have it displayed on our board as well to provide vocabulary for all of the learners in our classroom. And again, we can click these words to add them into the document or tap on an iPad and use them in our writing. So that's a quick words word bank. Let's have a look at the other end of the spectrum of word bars and have a look at a to Z word bar. So back into LearningGrids, we'll just look at rivers again. There we go. So as I scroll down, you can see we've got quite a few A to Z word bars. I'm just going to open up this one here. This is a nice generic one on rivers. All of these are focusing on specific rivers. So we'll open this one up. So initially it does look quite similar to our quick words word bar, but down here at the bottom of the screen, we've got all of the letters of the alphabet. And as we click through them, we can see vocabulary on the topic starting with that letter. So this is great for learners who know the words that they want to use in their writing, but might struggle with the spellings. So they can navigate through this vocabulary to find those words and use them in their writing. We can still use the right click to listen to the words and then select them to add them into the document. But it's also useful as a prompt. For example, we've got mudflats offered here. It might be that the learner would forget to include that in their writing if they didn't spot it in the word bar. So we'll have a look at the final type of word bar now, the topic-based word bar. Okay. So topic-based word bars don't have anything in their title, so they're not listed like quick words or A to Z. They just have the subject as their title. And when we open this one up, okay, we can see that we've got, again, a grid of vocabulary. But this time, rather than having all of the letters of the alphabet displayed at the bottom of the screen, they're organised by subtopic. So in this first grid, we've got all of the vocabulary that we need to write about river sources. We can then write about the upper course, the middle course, the lower course, and the mouth of the river. So this is a really good kind of middle ground between quick words and A to Z, because we've got more vocabulary offered than a quick words, but it's easier to navigate than an A to Z. It also offers some structural support for our writing, in that we should probably be starting by writing about the source and then progress through these tabs and not miss any of them out. Okay. If we want to edit a word bar in the DocsPlus app, we can do that by going to Edit View with this grid icon with the pen. And we can then change any vocabulary by typing or deleting in the words text box. And we can change the different grids by moving through them in the sidebar on the left-hand side. We can then select Done to leave Edit View. For iPad users who don't have a physical keyboard, you can swap between the word bar and the on-screen keyboard with this icon just here. So you can see I can toggle between the two. Okay, so we are coming towards the end of this webinar now. Thank you everybody for attending. If you do have any questions, please do add them to the Q&A. I just want to point you in the direction of some useful resources. So firstly, there's our Clicker Community Facebook group. It's a great place to find out about upcoming webinars, new resources, and to ask any questions. And then on our website, which is cricksoft.com, in the training section, you have access to a range of tutorials for both DocsPlus on PC and for iPad and Chromebook. There's a pre-recorded introductory webinar in the on-demand section. You can sign up for more webinars. We'll have a webinar in the spring term available here soon. And you can also book in a quick meeting if you have any questions at all about getting the most out of DocsPlus. I'm just going to display my contact information on the screen again, in case you want to make a note of that. And I'll be here for a little bit longer if you do want to ask any questions through the Q&A. When you leave the webinar, it will open a page in your browser with a survey. I'd really appreciate it if you could just take a minute or two to complete the survey so we can continue to offer high quality webinars. Okay. Thanks everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your day.